G'day, long time no see. I have been busy with other things and keeping my online presence down. Let's talk about the Vegas shooting. I don't know why I'd bother, but there's something everyone's missing. This is an Israeli kill squad. Israel, Israel, Israel. Not the FBI, as Jim Stone is saying. It's not the deep state. It's Israel, Israel, Israel with their kill squads. The yeshiva military academy trained, going into special forces, assassination squads, their intelligence community. That's who's done this. What is Las Vegas? Very simple questions, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas is the home of gambling. Who runs Las Vegas? It's not a trick question. It's not a trick question. The same people who run Hollywood. Okay, all the security companies are Israeli based. All the monitoring equipment. It's the same Israeli companies. The whole place is a cesspit of Israel. All right, hardcore Zionists, Sheldon Adelson, all of that stuff. With this in mind, who do you think runs around killing innocent women and children? Let's remember Kay Griggs, for those of you who don't know who Kay Griggs is. Kay Griggs is the wife of Marine Colonel George Griggs, who ran the assassination and dirty tricks program, psychological warfare for the Marine Corps, and floated amongst various units, including NATO. Kay is going to tell you this. She is going to say they kill 5, 10, 20 people, then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else. Innocent men, women, and children.
Fascinating conversation. Talking to the wife of the former
Chief of Staff, Marine Atlantic, head of the intelligence group that went to Beirut. They were already leading over there. He was before the Beirut bombing. The NATO intelligence wet operations guy, psychological operations guy.
Okay, now when you refer to wet operations, W-E-T, does that stand for something?
Yes, it means murder, assassinations group. NATO has a group of assassins and psychological operations specialists who work in combined operations to destroy targets. The taxpayers are paying young men who are not citizens of the United States to kill innocent people, women and children. And they do wet ops. They'll just, murder 5, 10, 20 people. 5, 10, 20 people. 5, 10, 20 people. And then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else. But it's actually NATO rogue assassins.
Want to hear that again? Let's hear that again.
Murdered 5, 10, 20 people. 5, 10, 20 people. 5, 10, 20 people. And then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else. But it's actually NATO rogue assassins.
Now, just remember that Alex Jones, the chief propaganda minister for Donald Trump, is already screaming, starting 3 days ago. He's got links with Antifa and ISIS. He declared his allegiance to ISIS 2 months ago. He's converted to Islam, all right? This is BB. This is not about gun confiscation. It's never going to happen unless the United States falls into a massive state of emergency and suspension of all rights. It would be huge. So it's not that. What they're trying to do is associate, as they've been trying for a long time, as Christopher Bolin talks about, the Oded Yanon plan, where Benjamin Netanyahu says, we have to make our problem, which is Muslims who fight back, into America's problem, so America will come and kill Muslims in the Middle East for us. And that's what this is about. No more, no less. That's it. This is all about Israel. This is Benjamin Netanyahu and his clique of scumbag, mass-murdering pieces of garbage. And he's in desperate stakes. I noticed that the Church of Scotland has just come out and said that Jews have no biblical claim to Israel, ancient Palestine. Stuff. So this is moving. And of course, the left is gathering momentum. The left is even using biblical terms like Amalekites. BB's got to move quick. Let's go on. This is all about Israel, 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 Israel. It's not the FBI. These are Israeli kill squads or those associated with it.
Because there are men from Australia, South Africa, Britain, that I've been able to determine, and a lot of these other little countries that are sort of wanting to get into NATO. They have little boys that they pick out, and they call them special. They use the word special, meaning elite, irregular, to entice these boys because they don't have much ego. So if you call being a criminal, in other words, they are protected. They know that they are above the law. That's what my husband's above the law. So David Koresh was used because he had a Mossad, he had an Israeli agent. They always get away, don't they? The Israelis always are in there, but they get away, don't they? Anybody who is Jewish is automatically a member of the army, the Israeli army.
Israeli Defense Force.
They have a joint relationship. How can they be loyal to America if they will shoot ships like the Liberty, and it's covered up for whatever Israel wants to do, if they want to kill Palestinians, if they want to sabotage, because George told me that that's what they do. They do a lot of sabotage, one of whom is head of intelligence, is head of computers and...
Now listen to this. Ron Jarmuth, head of American military intelligence, computers and science. He's an anarchist, an old school Zionist Jewish family out of New York, met his wife on a kibbutz. Do you understand? Telpiot program, link it all together. They're freaking everywhere. Their C&M networks, particularly in Vegas, is incredibly strong. It's Israel.
Intelligence for the Army, Ron Jarmuth. Now, Ron Jarmuth comes right out and says, I'm an anarchist. Yeah, I mean, his family are New York, old Zionist Jews. He met his wife, I think, in a kibbutz. You know, I mean...
And the more Hezbollah says, we have new weapons, we'll target your ammonia plants like idiots, the more Bibi goes, yes! So it's building up. So soon Americans won't give a damn about dead Muslims. They've got to keep equating these Israeli kill squads running around, killing people, and then blaming it on Islam, which Alex Jones is already doing. Yeah, he's in with Antifa. He converted to Islam 2 months ago. Oh, they're in the Philippines, you know, and his wife's in Dubai. I mean, there's no Filipinos in Dubai. That's a joke. It's full of Filipinos. Alex Jones, I used to laugh. I used to just listen for fun. I can't even barely listen to it anymore, but you must, because he's the propaganda out for this Likudnik ultra-right-wing clique that is running Israel, and hopefully I think they're going to fail. I do, in the long run, God willing. Anyway, here's the video. Israel the Mad Dog threatens Europe with jihad terror. Now, Israel Hassoun is a Syrian Jew, and he said in 2014, if you abandon Israel, we're going to fill you up with jihadi terrorists. This is such an important video.
The highest levels of the Marine Corps and the Army, in those special operations levels, the individuals are actually in the mob. I'm talking about the Brooklyn, New Jersey mob. Israel, some of the Zionists who came over from Germany, they do a lot of money laundering in the banks, cash transactions for the drugs that they're bringing over. The military are all involved once they retire. They're, they go into this drug and secondary weapons sales. Israelis train with the SEALs. They do a lot of wet ops, murders, over here. The taxpayers are paying young men who are not citizens of the United States to kill innocent people, women and children. And they do wet ops. They'll just, murder 5, 10, 20 people. And then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else.
Well, here we are with Louis again. Let's have a listen.
What is the subject matter of today?
Well, the subject matter is the former Shin Bet head of security is he subtly threatening Europe if we don't look after their Jews or something? Tell us all about him. Tell us all about it.
Interesting article was published by Al Jaminer, American Jewish publication.
So, former Shin Bet chief warns if Europe countries fail to protect their Jews, the state of Israel will. Ooh, sounds threatening.
His name is Israel Hassoun from the Kadima party. And I investigated his background. Interestingly, he's a Syrian Jew.
Born in Damascus, wasn't he?
Born in Damascus.
It is an international criminal enterprise.
It is an international criminal enterprise. So it doesn't matter where the Jew born, where he was born, or where he lives. His loyalty is to his clan and to his syndicates.
A criminal syndicate.
A criminal syndicate. He's saying to the Europeans, I'm just reading for you so they can tell us we're making up things out of our, the moon is made out of cheese. Or in a blunt warning to a visiting group of European diplomats over a looming jihadi threat. A looming jihadi threat.
Who's going to be the jihadists? Israel?
A former deputy Shin Bet chief on Monday said, if you do not stand by our side, the day when Islamic terror will reach your homes, your beds, and your kindergartens will come soon.
Yeah, but wait a minute. If they're not standing by Israel's side, why would jihadists target Europe?
Well, could it be...
Israel's subtle, I say it's a threat. It's a subtle threat from Israel.
Could it be a relationship between the jihadi
and Israel?
Shin and the Israeli Shin Bet, which is one of the
army intelligence
services of the
Special
international
forces,
Jewry.
Special forces.
This wasn't published for Gentile readers. This is a Jewish publication for Jewish people. They think we Gentiles, we're stupid. We don't read what they write for themselves. And let's see what countries were addressed. They're speaking with Danish, Swedish, Dutch ambassadors to Israel, as well as officials from the embassies of Britain, Belgium, Italy, Hungary, Austria, and Germany. And they received this warning. Do you think that this warning is only limited to the European people, Brendan?
No, it's to everyone.
Do you think Australia is a target as well of this jihadi?
Well, how many Australian Jews go to Israel, serve in the Israeli Defence Force, serve in their army intelligence, serve in Mossad, serve in the counterintelligence branch, serve in their electronics intercept branch, serve in their explosive ordnance branch, you name it. And then they come back to Australia and their name's Bill Jones and they talk just like an Aussie, mate. Yeah, g'day, mate, how you going? And yeah, they're working for Israel.
And you forgot to mention one more thing.
Yeah.
Israeli death squads.
Oh, the death squad, yeah.
The death squads running around, killing people.
Heart attack, stroke, car accident, truck accident.
Alien abductions, all sorts of things. This article,
but you know,
this person Israel has soon is not a Johnny-come-lately Jew. He's in the Jewish government. He's in the Israeli government. So this is a policy.
Who was that Israeli academic who threatened that if Europe didn't stand by Israel, abandon Israel, they would nuke European cities?
He was the Israeli professor of military history.
Yeah, that's it. He said it in Amsterdam.
Martin van Creveld. Martin van Creveld.
Yeah.
He said
nuclear weapons and how Israel had threatened European capitals. If you look at the background of this, Israeli military researcher, historian Martin van Creveld had actually threatened European cities with annihilation.
We possess several hundred atomic warheads and can launch them at targets in all directions. All directions. Not the Palestinians, not Hamas, all directions. Perhaps even at Rome. Most European capitals are targets of our Air Force. Then he continues in one of his speeches some 10 years ago. It's interesting about what's going on today in Palestine. He says collective deportation was Israel's only meaningful strategy toward the Palestinians.
You mean ethnic cleansing?
The ethnic cleansing of Palestine.
I love their words, like where what do they call it? A targeted assassination instead of murder?
Yeah.
Or is it no targeted killings instead of assassination?
Collective deportation instead of saying ethnic cleansing. See, Jews, they use this tricky word and this mental gymnastic that they play to justify.
I think the American military did that in Vietnam. It used to be a search and destroy mission, then they changed it to sweep and clear.
Yeah. Like instead of saying we're going to the war, they say we're going to liberate them.
Yeah.
These words.
Psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare and
playing with words, like the Pharisees, always playing with words.
Martin van Creveld quoted Moshe Dayan, who said Israel must be like a mad dog, too dangerous to bother. He continues, we have the capability to take the world down with us. And I can assure you that this will happen before Israel goes under.
So this is a
And
Jewish academic.
He's a Jewish academic saying that the whole world...
Is he an
will
Israeli
go-
citizen?
He's Israeli-American citizen.
Yeah.
He says the whole world will go down if Israel goes down. and this guy, Israel has soon says to the Europeans, if you don't stand by our side, the jihadi threat is looming over you.